Hello, this is Dr. Robert Lockhart, speaking to you from North Queensland, Australia. I've just returned from the Woodstock Fruit Festival, a life-changing event, 2013. The largest gathering of raw vegans in the world. Now, I had to fly 30 hours pretty well continuously, changing airports, going through different time zones. And I'd like to talk to you about how to overcome jet lag after 30 hours of flying, losing a day, etc. Coming from Northern Australia, more than halfway around the world. The way to overcome jet lag is to become a raw fooder, to alkalize your system. I didn't suffer from jet lag at all. And I'll tell you the secret. The secret is to do a dry fast on the plane. The longest single flight was 13 hours from Los Angeles to Brisbane. And by dry fasting, I mean no food, no water. I did have some mission figs to eat when I arrived in Brisbane, which I brought back from the Whole Foods in New York. Now, that's all I had to eat or drink on the whole journey, and I found that that is the secret. Your body is not trying to cope with digesting and trying to cope with different time zones at the same time. So it's a lot less complicated and a lot less strain on your body if you can do that. So my advice to you, if you're flying long distance hauls, don't overeat. Don't particularly worry about being thirsty or dehydrated. If you're on raw foods, you won't be dehydrated. You'll be quite happy not to call for extra beverages on the plane or anything. Alcohol is one of the greatest dehydrators in your system, so being on raw food certainly allows your cells to be completely hydrated, so they're not going to cause you to be thirsty even flying long haul flights. So that's just a little advice that I'd like to pass on. But you heard me mention dry fasting. What's the difference between dry fasting and water fasting? Dry fasting, there's quite a bit of difference. Now, you shouldn't really go into a dry fast unless you've been on raw foods for a number of years, 100% raw, and you're experienced in doing some water fasting. So what I'm saying is, don't dry fast straight away, certainly not more than 24 hours. 24 hours is probably good enough for a start. The reason is, if your body's loaded with toxins on cooked food, the dry fast will cause a tremendous amount of elimination. And if you've had a past history of medical intervention, medication, taking drugs, smoking cigarettes, alcohol, etc., your release of toxins and poisons into your bloodstream by doing a dry fast straight away without having experience and being on some conditioned by doing some water fast first, it could overwhelm your cells and overwhelm your kidneys and overwhelm your organs of elimination. So I mentioned dry fasting, but I mention it with a caveat in saying that you have to be on 100% raw for a couple of years, and you have to have experience with some water fasting prior to getting into dry fasting. But it's quite interesting to note the experience of traveling through different time zones and not really having jet lag if you're into raw foods and you have had some experience with dry fasting. It makes jet travel a whole lot easier, I can tell you. Anyway, this is Robert D. Lockhart, age 69, born 1944, still interested in walking on his hands and getting upside down and reversing the stress of gravity on the body. And I want to mention that in another video. So if you're born with me on this one, I'm glad that you're able to think about getting onto a saner, more rational way of living, because it'll pay dividends in the end. Thank you very much. Bye.